Well, good evening, everybody. Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight. I am Jack Freeman. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Virginia Beach City Public Schools. And in that position, I'm in the Department of School Division Services. Within Division Services, we have several different offices, which include transportation, safe schools, distribution, custodial, maintenance services, and facility services. And as such, in those areas, we're responsible for those safety measures. So for tonight, this is the next in the series of the VB Safe Together, and the focus is being safe in and out of the classroom. About a half an hour ago, Dr. Spence sent his regular Thursday update, and it also included a VB Safe Together poster, which will further reinforce some of the things that are important about being safe within the classroom. Things including staying at home when you're sick, and we have a screening tool to help with that, allowing for physical distancing, face coverings, and reinforcing hand washing. I also want to make some plugs for some other information and how we're trying to communicate with you. So the Virginia Beach City Public School Fall 2020 plan is posted on our website, and as are the frequently asked questions. A lot of great information in there. I know that they can be a long read, but really good information. I encourage you to take a look at those. Additionally, on Monday, there is going to be a parent connection workshop. And it's a 90-minute workshop on Monday, August 31st from 5 to 6:30. And that'll provide answers to many of the questions that parents and students have related to getting ready for school beginning September 8th. The workshop will also offer a Schoology tutorial and share information about 4x4 schedules. During the last 30 minutes of the session, division leadership will answer student questions. And then next Thursday, Dr. Spence will host the final in the VB Safe Together series. It's an hour-long session that'll include live questions from parents, students, employees, and community members about the reopening of schools. Senior staff and division leadership will serve as panelists and answer as many questions as time allows. So for tonight, the format that we're going to use, we have several directors that are part of division services and are responsible for many of the offices that I just described earlier. And we have some videos to help build what the picture may look like. So we know that we have a lot of written communication that we've given to you, and the intent is for these videos to kind of help build the picture of what this school year experience will look like when we get to the face-to-face environment. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. David Pace, our Executive Director for Transportation and Fleet Management Services. Good evening, David.
Good evening, boss.
So if you could just kind of, before we get into your video, if you could just kind of introduce yourself and walk us through some things as it relates to transportation preparations for the coming school year.
Absolutely. I'm David Pace, the Executive Director of Transportation and Fleet Management Services, and I welcome all the parents who've logged in tonight to be a part of this discussion. I will start by saying you can take comfort in knowing that this administration has taken every possible avenue to ensure the safety of your children during this pandemic. That's including our school buses. We have trained our bus drivers. We've provided them with the resources that they need, the disinfectants that they need, and all the other personal protective equipment they need to keep themselves safe and your children safe. So as we move forward and you see the video that's going to be played and the things that we have done to ensure the safety of your children, I think you will be very comforted to put them on the school bus.
All right, with that, David, would you like to cue up the video?
Yes.
All right.
Hello, my name is David Pace and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Transportation and Fleet Management Services. I'm here today to give you the information on the health mitigations that we are taking to ensure the safety of the students and our employees as we return to the reopening of schools and school bus transportation starts. First thing we'll do is we'll load the bus from the rear to the front, and the seats will be assigned to the students. We use the airline industry way of numbering the seats for easy remembrance for the children, and the seat that they are assigned the first day will be the seat that they are assigned for the year. We will have 2 different seating arrangements. The middle and the high schools will sit 1 to a seat in alternating spots, window aisle, from the front to the back. We'll be using 2 to a seat for the elementary school students. In consultation with our medical authorities, they said that would be good as long as everyone wore a mask and siblings can sit together. Neighborhood friends that they are in close association with on a daily basis can sit together. So we think that health mitigation will work best for the elementary age students. As another part of our health mitigation strategies, every school bus will be provided a disinfectant spray and wipes in order to wipe down the high-touch areas on the school bus after every run, and then another more thorough cleaning at the end of the route, between the morning routes and the afternoon routes. Another part of our health mitigation strategies is the wearing of a mask by all students and staff. If a student comes to the bus stop without a mask, the bus driver will supply them with one. If the parent is with the student, the parent will be asked to provide the mask in the future. If the parent is not with the student, the bus driver will report the student to the school administration, and they will be contacting the parent. In any event, no child will be left at a school bus stop. They will board the bus and be taken to the school.
All right, thanks, David. Anything else you want to cover about the video before we go into a couple of questions?
I'll just say this. I don't know that we'll have 2 to a seat for elementary school students with the numbers of parents who have requested transportation. It will probably be less than that, which is a good thing for the social distancing. But the other thing I would say, our professional school bus drivers take these children under their wing as their own. They're going to be very attentive to their needs and their health needs, and to make sure that they get to school safely and with the proper guidance and equipment for personal protective equipment and so forth. Once again, I think parents can take comfort in knowing that putting their children on a school bus is going to work out very well for everyone.
Right. And so going back to some of the things we talked about earlier about some key foundations for us of staying home when you're sick, we're encouraging parents to do the screening before the child ever gets to the bus stop. We talked about the physical distancing that you put in place, and that all students will wear a mask. And then from a hand washing standpoint, encouraging families that before your kids leave or before you put them on the bus, either have them wash their hands or put some hand sanitizer on. And then when they arrive at school, to do the same thing again to help out with the cleaning. And the one thing that we did work with the physicians and others on is ventilation. So from a ventilation standpoint, David, we're also keeping the windows down as much as conditions permit to be able to keep airflow and ventilation through the buses, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Anytime the weather permits, we will have the proper ventilation going through the bus.
Okay. All right, so a couple of questions that we received, I'll read them off so that you can answer them. First question was, we intended on driving our children to school, but completed the bus transportation form for flexibility in case we could not drive or pick them up. Was that acceptable to do, and will the bus come to get them?
Yeah, absolutely. If you registered your children to ride a school bus, they will be assigned a school bus stop and a school bus. The reason we were asking that is because of the restrictions of the numbers of students that we can transport on a school bus to keep social distancing. Signing up and not using it is okay because we will have room on the bus and the bus will be assigned to them.
Okay, great. Next and last question for you. And this is a little bit of transportation and it goes a little bit beyond it. So the question is, what's the protocol for when a child tests positive while in face-to-face instruction? And what about children on the same bus? Is there a quarantine? So if you could just address the bus part of that issue, and then I'll kind of leverage in after that.
Oh, absolutely. Any case of positive test for this virus will be handled by our health professionals, and they will determine a course of action and they will track where the student's been, and they will advise us on what we are to do from that point on.
Yes, and from a broader perspective, we are very well connected with the Virginia Department of Health. We stay in routine contact with them for every case that comes through and a contact tracing investigation is performed. We coordinate with them on what are the right measures to be able to respond to that specific detection. So those will all be responded to with all of the right authorities being involved, including our medical health professionals at the Virginia Department of Health, and all appropriate steps and procedures will be taken based on that. Okay, David, anything that you'd like to communicate before we move on to facilities?
No, we just look forward to the children being on the bus again and transporting our children to school.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so now I'd like to introduce Mr. Tony Arnold, our Executive Director for Facilities and Maintenance Services. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, Jack, how you doing?
I'm good. So can you just kind of, before we cue up the video, talk a little bit about some of the preparations that that you've been working on?
Certainly. So, you know, when the children leave David's buses, they get off on the sidewalk and then they journey into our school building. So the video that you'll see will walk students, parents, our public through the journey into a school building, signage, social distancing, COVID signage on the front door, greeted by the security assistant. And also, we'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of preventive maintenance in our school buildings on HVAC systems and other systems within the building. We'll also talk a little bit about furniture layouts and making sure that we are maintaining social distancing within the classroom. The video will talk to that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that after the video.
All right, sounds good. So we'll cue up the video.
Hi there, I'm Tony Arnold, Executive Director of Facilities for Virginia Beach City Public Schools. We want you to understand what the experience is going to be for staff and students as they enter our public school buildings. We've got here a face mask required reminder and also a reminder of 6 feet of social distancing as you're entering all of our buildings. Approach each one of our public school buildings, you'll notice that there's a COVID-19 self-screening questionnaire. We need for each staff, student, and member of the public to make sure that they follow this questionnaire before entering our public school buildings. As you enter our public school buildings, you'll notice that there are stickers on the floor defining social distancing at 6 feet. As you approach the security desk, you'll also notice that there's a plexiglass barrier between the security assistant and the public. For those members of the public that are directed to the main office, you'll also notice in the main office at the desk another plexiglass barrier to define a barrier between the main office staff and those members of the public who are visiting. All of our water fountains are working in our schools. Here's a good example where before you touch the water station, clean your hands. Go ahead and fill up your own personal water bottle. We'd encourage you to bring that. Clean up after you're done and have a nice drink of water. You're in a traditional middle school classroom here at Salem Middle School. You'll notice that the student desks are spaced 3 feet apart for social distancing. You'll also notice that we've got tape located on the floors, also to further define social distancing. Let me take you up here to a teacher's desk so you can see that we've got a plexiglass barrier in the event students need to approach the teacher, also to better define social distancing in the classroom. We want to ensure that all of our students, staff, faculty, and community members feel safe and welcome for the first day of school.
All right, so Tony, I've got a couple of questions here. Is there anything you wanted to wrap the video up with before I go to the questions?
No, Jack, I'd just like to share, you know, I'm born and raised here and a product of this school division, like yourself, and you know this, that I'm married to an elementary school principal. Our 4 children are products of the Virginia Beach City Public School System. So, you know, we take the health, safety, and welfare of all of our students in the community very seriously, first and foremost. And so we've been working hard since buildings shut down this spring to make sure that our buildings are being adequately maintained, and been working really hard this summer with our maintenance crews to get ready for staff and students to come back into our building. So like David, we're excited and ready to start greeting some of our youngsters.
Okay, great. So a couple of questions here. First one, what is being done to school building ventilation systems to ensure that buildings are safe for our children and staff?
So good question. You know, we started this when our buildings kind of went into an unoccupied mode back in the spring. We have been maintaining our mechanical system operations across the division since the beginning of the pandemic, and we're capitalizing on what's been the unoccupied period to concentrate on routine maintenance. That includes changing filters, cleaning coils. We've ramped up our preventive maintenance program, disinfecting of coils, and just increasing the daily system runtime and ventilation, and making sure that we're assessing our indoor air quality, both through analysis and additional data logging. So we've also had a fair number of HVAC improvement projects that we've done this summer that are pretty routine in terms of infrastructure work during the summertime. So really the pause has given us a good time to go in and do more PM over the summer, so that we make sure that when staff and students come back that our HVAC systems are operating properly.
Okay, great. Next question for you. There's what are schools doing to flush the water lines after having been closed and unoccupied since March?
So we have a long-standing partnership with the city's Department of Public Utilities, and we actually implemented a division-wide water flushing program last winter. And so we've been flushing our school buildings starting over the winter break. We do weekly flushing together with our head custodians and our building managers to make sure that we're eliminating stagnant water and maintaining good water quality. We've also been evaluating all the plumbing drawings to make sure that the flushing does what it's intended to do, so that we've got good water quality at all of our outlets in our school buildings.
Okay. And actually, it looks like I have one more question here for you.
Okay.
And this one is going to be, you shared a little bit of signage in the video to kind of help guide things. This one is, how will social distancing be maintained as students transit from one class to the next? And I know that we have some one-way signage that we're distributing to our schools to be able to help with that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how we're helping during the transit times keep social distancing?
Certainly, will do. We do have directional and one-way signs that are actually arriving as we speak. With nearly 90 school buildings, you can imagine that traffic flow is unique and different in every school. So our building managers will be working with each individual school to define traffic flows. Some hallways are wider than others, but making sure that we do a good job of maintaining social distancing while kids are going to and from classes in their schools.
Okay. All right, great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to wrap up before we move on to custodial services?
A little bit on the furniture layout in classrooms. You know, what we've learned over the really over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and we intuitively knew this, that in secondary schools, middle and high schools, where you've got more traditional student desks, it's fairly easy to lay out desk at 3-foot spacing. It's a little more challenging when you get down into elementary schools, particularly in the kindergarten and first grade classrooms, where you've got a lot more. The furniture layout is a lot different. You've got group work tables, rectangular tables, what we call commonly referred to as kidney-shaped tables. The newer furniture that we've been buying for our newer schools, and also when we've been replacing furniture in older buildings, it's much more flexible in nature. And so we've been working together with individual schools, particularly in the lower grade levels, on plexiglass separation, so that we can make sure that that in these kindergarten, first, second grade classrooms, we can still have small group instruction. That's really important to children's learning at that age, and maintain proper social distancing. So that's something that's being worked on actively. In fact, I visited 3 schools today where we've got real good solutions in mind to help facilitate that.
Right, and so when you talk about those plexiglass shields, so our standard is 3 feet of separation while students wear a mask, based on the guidance that we have gotten from our healthcare professionals. And then those additional barriers that you're describing are really just to support an enhanced level of safety while we're maintaining that distance.
Absolutely.
With flexible seating. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. All right. So now I'd like to introduce Mr. Larry Ames, our Director for Custodial Services. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Freeman.
All right. So can you describe what we are doing, our preparations, and where we stand on our safety measures as it relates to custodial services?
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm again Larry Ames, Director of Custodial Services, and I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you some of the things we are doing. First, let me say that providing a healthy, clean, safe environment for students and staff members remain our #1 priority. The arrival of COVID-19 has ushered in a new norm for cleaning schools and facilities. We have now made this new norm our standard here in Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Let's watch a video and then I'll have some more words for you in a minute. Hello, I'm Larry Ames, Director of Custodial Services. Custodial Services' purpose is to provide a safe, healthy, and clean environment for our students and staff to work in. Some of the cleaning items that we have provided for the teachers is a roll of paper towel, a ball of disinfect, which they can use during the day when the instruction is going on in case a student touched something that needs to be sanitized. This is the only approved chemical that we are allowing in Virginia Beach schools. So teachers, parents, friends, do not bring any other chemicals into the building because we want to make sure that we maintain a safe, healthy environment for our students, especially when they're wearing masks. Our plan is to sanitize restrooms and water fountains using the Foamit sprayer at least every 3 hours. We also have a Victory sprayer, which is a backpack that does the same thing as the Foamit machine. They're interchangeable. It helps when we're using it on stairwells, things like that. High touch point areas will be sanitized every 2 hours, restrooms, water fountains every 3 hours. Thank you.
So those Foamit sprayers are relatively new.
Yes, sir. Virginia Beach were allowed to purchase these 2 new pieces of equipment to help aid in the disinfecting of our schools. The first one we talked about was the Foamit Mister. That is a piece of equipment that will allow us to do larger areas very effectively and quickly. The second piece you saw was the Victory backpack sprayer. Both of these are disinfecting machines that we'll use daily to sanitize our schools. Basically, these machines are designed to disinfect all surfaces regardless of the material makeup of the item. This would allow us to sanitize in a regular shorter period of time, and it's more efficient. Let's go back and talk about some of the things we saw in the video. Hand sanitizers. Right now, every classroom should have already received a paper towel, the bottle of disinfect, and hand sanitizers are being delivered this week as we speak. Water fountains, vending machines are going to be disinfected every 3 hours. Hallway restrooms, railing and stairwells will be disinfected every 2 hours during the school day. We want to make sure that our students stay safe. We're here to support because, as you know, a lot of my custodians have wonderful relationships with your sons and daughters.
All right, great. Thank you, Larry. So I've got a couple of, I got actually several questions here for you, and some of them you have already covered, but I'm gonna bring them up. So first question, how much hand sanitizer and hand soap will be provided to teachers for their classes, and how frequently will teachers be resupplied with that sanitizer?
We purchased 10,000 bottles of hand sanitizers. All material products that are being furnished to the teachers can be resupplied at any time that's needed. We have also provided each school with 2 1-gallon containers of disinfect that we can use to refill the classroom bottles. We are ready and willing to provide and refill whenever a teacher has a need for anything.
Great. And I'll also add in there is one of the things that we commonly talk about is washing your hands. Preferred method is wash your hands, but we're putting that hand sanitizer in as many places as we can to ensure that when it's not convenient to wash your hands, that there's something there to be able to disinfect.
Very true, Mr. Mr. Freeman. We are trying to make sure that washing hands is the first priority. Hand sanitizers are used when washing hands are not available or inconvenient at that time. Posters have been placed in all the restrooms to help with the washing of hands.
Okay.
On the machine, on the new pieces of equipment, the foam misters and the sprayers, most of the equipment has already been purchased. Well, all the equipment has been purchased. We still have a couple of units that have not been delivered yet. They will be delivered by September the 8th. We had training last Thursday, August the 20th, for all head custodians to review how to use the machinery, and we did hands-on training with them. So they are ready to go.
Okay, so that last order of the foament machines will be delivered roughly about 2 weeks prior to the expected earliest opportunity to begin face-to-face instruction, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so we should be good and have those in place and ready to go by that. That's
Yes.
what we expect, and that's what we've been told. Okay. I think you already covered the next question about, next question was related to sanitizing of vending machines. And you said that was going to happen about the same frequency as we do our water fountains, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. While we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about enhanced cleaning. What does that mean? And enhanced cleaning, it means that those surfaces that are touched many times during the day, such as light switches, handrails, doorknob, switches, we're going to be doing those every 2 to 3 hours during the school day. In the evenings, we're going to be doing thorough spraying down and wiping down of all areas that a student might have had contact with during the school day. We're also going to be doing playground equipment because we know that it's best for especially our young learners, to get outside and get a little relaxation, running, having fun. So we will be disinfecting the playground equipment every day.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That is all the questions that I have. Anything else that you would like to share with the community before we move on to food services?
We're just waiting to have you back in the building. You will be safe.
All right. Thanks, Larry. All right. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. John Smith, our Director of Food Services. Welcome, John.
Good evening.
All right. So before we cue up your video, anything that you want to share regarding our preparations for food services for this year?
Yeah, Jack, I'd like to really discuss two different scenarios, if I could, for a few minutes before we get into the video. The first deals with while we're in a virtual status for the first few weeks of school and the online ordering system that we have put in place. Since March, we have been operating under the summer feeding model governed by USDA. And from March to date, we have served over 1.7 million meals to the students of Virginia Beach. But unfortunately, that guidance ends August 31st. And when we start school, we're basically going to be operating on student eligibility as we are normally during the school year. So we have an online system in place that's going to basically take the place of serving lines and allow parents the opportunity to use our School Cafe app that they're very familiar with. This is the same app that they use for free and reduced meal applications, look at menu items and nutritionals. It's the same account they use to put money on their accounts. And now there's a new tab for them. It's already there called Meal Ordering. And they'll be able to click on that and select from any of our menu items. That's actually an advanced feature. So it's going to be very much like Grubhub in that they can choose from any item on the menu. They can choose breakfast, lunch for that day, or both. They could designate a 30-minute pickup time. They can designate a certain school pickup zone. If they have kids in multiple schools, they can designate which school they want that picked up, and we have a system to make that work. And we think it's going to be a nice feature for them while we're on virtual status for these few weeks. Even when we go back face-to-face, we still plan on having this system operating for the percentage of students that remain in virtual status. So that will be a continuation. We have 14 CEP, community eligibility schools, that serve breakfast and lunch for free to all students. And so parents that have students going to those schools, which have recently been released by Department of Media Communications, they can get those meals for free, ordering through their schools at no cost. So we encourage them to really take advantage of that new CEP status. In fact, we added 8 new schools from last year's total of 6. As we said, we are doing individual student eligibility. So it's important to make sure applications get turned in. Parents do have eligibility remaining for the first 30 days of school from last year. But with this virus unknown and how long we could or couldn't be and that type of thing, we encourage them to go ahead and get those apps in. The online app is open. 93% of our parents submitted through School Cafe last year. So we know they're familiar with it, and we just encourage them to go ahead and do that to get ready. So that's kind of an overview of the virtual feeding model. There's a lot of information already on our website that's linked through the big banner at the top of vbschools.com. So I encourage parents to go there. We're constantly adding more information as we fine-tune this process. We have our own Q&As up there as well, dealing with virtual feeding. So please take advantage of that. There's some step-by-step videos. There's a couple of PowerPoints to really lead parents through this. And then as we transition into face-to-face, we were tasked with creating a flexible model for principals to have a variety of options to work in the master schedule to get food into the hands of students. So let's look at this video and look at a possible scenario that we are doing in food service. Hi, I'm Dr. John Smith, Director of Food Services for Virginia Beach City Public Schools, here to give you an overview of what food service might look like when students return to school.
We were tasked with providing principals flexibility, whether it's a big school, small school, large population, small population, old school, new school, to have a structure that will allow students to eat in the classroom, practice social distancing guidelines, proper sanitation, and basically protect themselves and others during this COVID crisis. So what you see behind me is a setup that can be moved around anywhere in the school, serve a full menu, and allow the principal the flexibility to set up a lunch schedule that best suits their needs. So what you see here is an example of a full menu that can be moved to various locations in the school. From a safety standpoint, you're going to see a barrier protect the cashier. You're going to see a scanner, which is replacing our student keypad so they don't have to plug anything in. They will just use their ID card with a scanner on the back, zap that, and they have purchased their meal and they are good to head back to their classroom. You also have the hand sanitizer. You have a wireless laptop so this thing can be moved around. You also have walkie-talkies back here so that if they start running low on any food supply, they can call back to the cafeteria and get replenished. Over here you'll see that we've got a full menu selection. That would be what's on our menu typically. The student will still have the latitude to choose what they want from the regular menu, but they're just not going to be reaching over and grabbing multiple items. They'll take their item, scan, get their beverage, and head back to their classroom. One additional thing that we'll be doing to protect our staff and students is we're going to be going to a cashless system. Every student has a free school cafe account that they can access and set up through vbschools.com. That allows you to look up menus, allows you to put money on account, allows you to apply for free meals, and also will allow you to access online ordering that we hope will be available very soon. So in closing, what I want to emphasize is that Food Services come up with a flexible plan that, working with school administrators, allows them to maximize their schedule, to protect students, protect staff. They have latitude to feed in classrooms. They could feed in small groups in other locations of the school if they deem. These stations can be moved anywhere in the building since they're using the Wi-Fi. We think this plan is going to be flexible. It's going to protect, and we're excited that we can continue feeding our students in a safe environment in Virginia Beach City Public Schools.
So that was great, and what's significant is the shift from the summer feeding model that you talked about to this new model. And so during that change, there's going to be a time frame, and there was a communication that went out about a transition time. Can you talk about that a little bit as well?
Yes, we're going to serve meals through the summer feeding program through Monday, August 31st. Then we'll be shut down Tuesday through Labor Day, so we can train our managers, staff on the use of this. The issues that have popped up, it's a brand new program. Anytime you put in a new program, there's bugs that have to be worked out. And we've created some mechanisms with this software to help the parents, and we have to train our managers on those protocols to make this smooth and work. The main thing I want to emphasize to parents is our goal is to get these meals in your hands as easy as possible. And while you'll see some protocols, I want to ensure you that if you have an issue, a concern, or a protocol that doesn't seem to work for your circumstance, to please reach out to your school. They will pass that message to the school manager. We will get back to you, and we will help you come up with a solution that will work for you so you can get those meals for your children.
Great. So I've got several questions for Food Services. I'll just step through them for you. How will my kids have access to their lunches?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be through their school cafe account. It's very user-friendly. The steps are very short. When they open up that account and see the menu ordering option, they will actually pull up menu pictures of the items that we have offered for breakfast and lunch, and they will just click on the item that they want. That will get them the full reimbursable meal. They will close it out. They'll get a receipt that shows them exactly what they ordered. If they have some special circumstances, as I mentioned earlier, such as allergy concerns, pickup locations, multiple kids, anything like that. There's a comment section that allows them to input those concerns so our managers can contact them, work through those issues, and get those meals to the appropriate pickup spot. So like, as I mentioned, it's going to be very much like a Grubhub. They'll pick up at a designated location, probably the school cafe exit doors, but that's going to be determined by school administrators, and that information will get passed out before school starts.
So the next question is along the lines of parents that have kids at multiple schools. And that one's, will I have to drive to each one at their lunch bells, or can I pick them up one time from one school?
The short answer to that is yes. You will order for each kid as if they were as if they were going to pick up at their own school. I'll use Bayside 6, Bayside Middle, Bayside High School. You may have a kid at one kid at each of those schools. You would place their orders, and in the comment section, if you wanted to pick up at Bayside Middle, you would just write pick up at Bayside Middle in the comments for each of those orders, and our managers have the protocol to call to those other schools and get those meals prepped up for them and ready at Bayside Middle for the designated pickup time.
Okay. And you may have already covered this one. How will pickup for lunches work, and will it be the same outside drive-by setup as has been this summer?
We're not going to be outside in the booths like we were at the tables. If you've used Grubhub and picked up at a restaurant, you usually walk into the restaurant and they have a table laid out with the bags with the receipts on them. You give them the name, the phone number, or in our case, the student name and student number, or a copy of the receipt, or a screenshot of the receipt with the order, and we'll have a staff member there hand you the bag following the safety protocols. So it's really just going to be the pickup spot that will get designated by the school administration. More than likely, since it's going to be by the cafeteria, I anticipate it being the exterior door to the cafe.
Okay. All right, so the final question is, this really kind of goes to, expands the departments that we work with for these kind of things. And the question is eating outdoors an option so students will have fresh air flowing while masks are off? And I'll kind of set that up that we are very well coordinated with our instructional staff in providing them guidance and support so that they can maximize the use of the space in their schools, spread out, and be able to have a safe environment. Anything to add on to that?
Well, every school has been tasked by the Department of School Leadership with having a feeding plan, a transportation plan, to look at the different things. Every school is different. You have big ones, small ones, old ones, new ones, different floor plans. And so our job was to be flexible with getting the food to the kids. Where they eat is really going to be a function of space available in the administrator's master schedule. It could be small groups in a cafeteria. It could be outside. It could be in foyers. It could be in their classrooms. I think that's going to be dictated by each school administrator's feeding plan, but they do have the latitude to take those meals anywhere that they can practice appropriate safety protocols and social distancing guidelines.
All right, great. Anything that you would like to share with the community as you wrap up?
A couple of things. One, I'd like to thank all the parents that were so supportive over the summer. It was a big help to our operation. It was a pleasure seeing all those faces and smiling faces, and we appreciated the opportunity to serve you. We hope that we can continue that. We're here to assist you, not make it more difficult. So I encourage you to go to vbschools.com, stay on the questions and answers, look at the protocols, look at the user guides. If you have questions, we also have email access at VB Foods. Send me an email. I monitor that daily. You can contact your school manager. We're training them the first of the week on these protocols. So as schools get closer, they'll be very familiar with those things. We want to make it easy for you. So if you have any issue setting up your account, figuring out how to use it, or any of those types of things, just reach out. We will help. We're here to help you. And we look forward to your smiling faces. We have missed you.
All right, great. Thanks, John. So
Thank you.
I have I have one more question that kind of goes to a broad, across many of the offices that are talking today. And that question is, how is support staff, like office staff, custodians, cafeteria workers, and security supported in options to minimize exposure? So there's been several things that we've shared tonight that have that contribute to that, and you can see the plexiglass barriers that we've installed in our office areas, in our classrooms, at our security desks, at our cafeteria flex stations. And in order to be able to provide that, we're providing cloth face coverings for everybody to wear. We also have the appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment, for those that work in environments that require more specific PPE. You saw the disinfecting protocols that we have in place. So it's a multi-layered approach that we're taking to that. But I'm also going to circle back to what I mentioned earlier today in the VB Safe Together poster that I mentioned, and the things that are going to be very important that are personal responsibility, really, that comes down to this is how we can keep everybody safe and be able to maximize our opportunity to have kids in face-to-face instruction where we all want them to be, and that's what we're shooting for. Stay at home if you're sick. We have the screening tool. Please take a good detailed look at the screening tool and go through it every day before your kids are going off to school. We've set up you can see that everything that we've done to set up for physical distancing. Please reinforce that with your kids and others to keep that physical distancing. Wear your face mask as appropriate. And wear it throughout the day as appropriate and wear it properly. The significance of that has been well communicated by our medical professionals of how significant that is in reducing the spread. And finally, washing your hands. Washing your hands is the best means that we have for disinfecting, but we've also supplied a lot of hand sanitizer in our classrooms and in our offices, so that when that's not convenient, there's an opportunity to wash your hands. And then, as Mr. Ames stated, we put disinfectant in all of those areas so that if we do need to disinfect the surface, that we can do that. All right, so with that, I am going to close tonight's session. So this was the Being Safe in and Out of the Classroom. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As a reminder, our plugs for the upcoming session. So we've got the Parent Connection Workshop that's coming up on Monday, August 31st from 5 to 6:30. And then we have the final in the series of the VB Safe Together next Thursday, hosted by Dr. Spence. And it'll include an hour-long session with live questions and answers. And I will close this out, and I hope you have been able to feel from the team here. We at Virginia Beach City Public Schools are absolutely focused on making our transition back into this school year as safe as we possibly can. And we will continue those efforts. And we will, as we enter these plans, we will monitor those plans, and we will make adjustments and improvements as it makes sense to do that. But we are off to a really good start, and we are all looking forward to getting this school year kicked off. So with that, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Monday and next Thursday.